What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How's everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, July 19th of 2023? Before we get into all the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go look for us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Dave, hi.
Hi. Hello.
What are you doing?
I'm a little tired tonight, but I'll be okay. I am just going to hit the sack immediately after this, though.
That's gross. Don't tell everyone about your fetishes later.
That's weird. We do have a fetish to talk. Well, it's being labeled a fetish, but
it's just fucking weird.
A weird phase is happening on the internet.
I don't like it. So last week's show was just David and I chit-chatting. This week's show, you're getting some more of that. So I know everyone comes here to hear our guests, and, sometimes these types of things happen where people, things happen. People want to come on, then things get in the way, and it's no one's fault. But we're here again this week, just Dave and I solo. We will hopefully be back next week with the guests, so you guys can stop hearing our opinions, because nobody likes our opinions. But guess what? Today you're going to get them. So, Dave, we're going to start off right away with the most epic thing that has happened in cinema history. No, I'm not talking Mission Impossible. No, I'm not rehashing Sound of Freedom, but it is the phenomenon that is the Barbenheimer. Dave, what is that?
Barbenheimer is the name given to the opening release day of both Barbie and Oppenheimer. The excitement for both movies is pretty palpable, and because it's coming out on the same day, the internet decided to run with Barbenheimer as the official way to go and watch it, as in you're watching both movies in the same day. I'm not sure if there was an official order, like you have to watch Oppenheimer first or whatever. But yeah, no, that's the reason for that name, and it is a very interesting time because I'm really, really wondering what the box office is going to look like for both of these movies.
Now, what is there really a cross-pollination for these two movies?
No, but that's the thing, though, is that they're so different, because Oppenheimer looks like this very dialogue-driven, really tense biopic about J. Robert Oppenheimer. It looks like it's going to be Nolan just digging in as deep as he can into this character story. And then Barbie, which we will go into a little bit, but Barbie, at least trailer-wise, looks like a fun romp with the character of Barbie and Ken and just, the dream house and everything. So it's really diametrically opposed in what the vibe is from both of these movies.
It is rather bizarre to see that they're promoting this so hard, and t-shirts have been made by fans. I don't think it's anything official, but Barbie standing in front of the atom bomb and things like that. Like it's pretty fucking cool. But Oppenheimer, the vibe that I get from watching the trailer, number one, the trailer is epic. So if the movie is half of the trailer, it's going to be good. But it really gives me off the same vibe as The Darkest Hour about Winston Churchill, where it's just kind of that, like you said, the heavy dialogue and everything, just digging into something historical. Now, I'm curious how accurate it's going to be, me being the history nerd that I am, because there's a lot of things that are talked about Oppenheimer, and I'm just curious how the truths are going to go. I saw Einstein was in it. I'm a scene at least. I'm curious how they're going to handle him. So the one thing I'm not a fan of, Dave, 3 hours long. Yeah, why do they keep doing this?
It's long as hell. It really is long as hell. But at least, and I will say this, the cast is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you go and look at the cast members on this movie, it's insane. Matt Damon said in an interview that he left couples therapy to go be in this movie. He said that him and his wife, he agreed to not leave. He was going to be there for couples therapy with one caveat. And that was if Christopher Nolan called him to be in a movie. And then Christopher Nolan called him to be in a movie. So, like, the cast is ridiculous. And what I'm hearing from early reviews of Oppenheimer is not only are people calling it a masterpiece, they're calling it Nolan's masterpiece, which if you like Christopher Nolan movies in general, which you probably do like one of them, being called Nolan's masterpiece is very high praise. That is setting a really high bar.
Now, what if we find out that Christopher Nolan had no spot for Matt Damon in this movie, and Matt Damon just made a phone call and was like, I really do not want to be doing this fucking couples therapy. Can you please put me in a movie? And Chris is like, I'll get on it. Don't worry. And then in typical, Matt Damon fashion, he ended off with Matt Damon. And if anyone doesn't know that reference, number one, shame on you. Number two, go watch Team America, World Police. Anyway, but yeah, it's interesting. I am going to wait for Oppenheimer because I want to go sit in the movie theater for 3 hours. Me and my wife don't have the attention span anymore to go see. I want to put it on streaming, fall asleep after the first half, and then wait about 6 months until the kids go to sleep at a decent time to finally finish it in typical American married fashion.
Mm-hmm. I haven't been able to sit and enjoy some kind of deep dive in a movie in a while. So I'm 100% going to be seeing this in the theater because I do think, some movies are more fit to go see in a theater. It's good to go see it in there. And I think Oppenheimer is one of those where it's just I feel like I need to go see it there. The experience is going to be what is worth it for this movie rather than just watching it at home, which I'm not deriding that, but I just think that theater would be more enjoyable.
And I just want to throw it out there. So Dave was talking about the cast. I'm just going to run down these names. So Cillian Murphy is J. Robert Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. Robert Downey's in it. Florence Poe is in it. Florence Poe. I'm going to call it Pooh. Emily Blunt is in it. We mentioned Matt Damon. Jack Quaid is in it. Rami Malek is in it. Josh Peck makes an appearance. Tom Conti's in it. It's a really impressive list.
It's a who's who.
Josh Hartnett makes an appearance. Mm-hmm. Wow. Haven't seen Josh Hartnett. Gary Oldman's there. Mm-hmm. Casey Affleck's there. Some of these names are like B-listers or things like that, but they're names that people know, and it's actually really impressive. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Again, I might go see it in theaters. I don't know. I don't know if I have 3 hours to get away. I don't know if I have that attention span anymore. But one movie that I considered seeing and maybe now won't go see after hearing some things is Barbie. Now, Dave, you mentioned that from all intents and purposes, I've seen the trailer a few times. My two girls at 5 and 3 like watching the trailer. They play with Barbies and things like that. And Margot Robbie's in it. She looks like a fine casting for Barbie.
A very good casting for
Barbie. Very good casting. She's a good-looking woman. She has that kind of ditziness that
she has the Barbie figure.
She has that Barbie aesthetic going. Mm. And then even better, Ryan Gosling as Ken seems like he was born to play Ken, right? He has that all-American quarterback look to him and things like that. So it was just perfect casting. I do have to say, maybe it's just the bigot in me. Why the fuck is there a fat Barbie in this?
I didn't even realize
there wasn't.
Maybe that's in the trailer, and I just
it is in the trailer. I'm sorry, and there's other things too. There's now Malibu Barbie is the white Barbie, and Brooklyn Barbie is the black Barbie. I had my daughter has a book that has both of them, and it's can we please again, just make cool characters with different names? Stop it. But anyway, apparently the reviews for this are not ideal if you're not a woke psycho. Dave, what do you got on this?
So some critics are giving it a good review, but I have heard, unfortunately, because I too enjoyed the trailer enough to say, hey, maybe this is just fun. There's a possibility this is fun. But I've heard that it is not only a very feminist movie, very smash the patriarchy feminist movie, but a very intersectional feminist movie. Mm. And I'm not going to give any spoilers away because I've heard the spoilers, but it seems like while the story is nonsense, and you should expect nonsense from a Barbie movie, I'm fine with that. But the story is nonsense that predicates itself on Barbie basically defeating the patriarchy, which doesn't make much of sense in the first place, because when you look at Barbie and Ken's relationship, one, they're supposed to actually like each other, and two, Barbie is supposed to be really good at a lot of fucking things. Like, she likes doing things.
Basically, whatever she wants to be good at, she's good at.
Exactly, which is just her thing. Like, that's what she does, and it's supposed to be just a fun way to show that you can go out and do these activities and have a lot of fun, and you could get into all the fashion of it, because there's different ways to style yourself for all these activities.
It was kind of meant to be like, she was kind of like a early feminist ideal where they could put Barbie in an astronaut's thing, a construction worker thing, and give it to little girls, and it was kind of like, hey, little girls, you can do all of these. Like, it was kind of initially a subtle feminist thing I guess in a good way of feminism, by telling young girls, like, you don't have to be a housewife. If you don't want to, you can go do whatever job you want. And here's the proof. You could play with this toy that is doing a job that is typically labeled for dudes. And there isn't anything necessarily wrong with portraying that.
Yeah. And like, what I believe we both would have wanted from this movie to see it is, Barbie is a lot of just nonsensical fun, like stupid. Like, she could do something really dumb, like just to overcome a random obstacle that might not mean much, and that's the whole point of it. Like, it's not very. There's not a lot of like obstacles in her way. She's not exactly going into grave danger here in any of her adventures. It's supposed to just be a nice little romp, which makes this whole synopsis I have heard for this movie very weird. And I mean, I'm not going to see it anymore. I was hoping for just something fun, just so I can laugh with my group of friends I was going to go see it with.
When I saw it and when I heard about it, I was quite literally thinking like Legally Blonde meets Barbie, like meets something like that. That's kind of where I was going, like in my head. And what made it fun to me too was seeing Will Ferrell in it. And like it being like at Mattel and thing like that. And then Will Ferrell being in the Lego movie, which is also in that whole entire universe. I would have loved if they would have kind of made like Will Ferrell be like kind of like the ongoing antagonist, but not even being really evil. Like in the Lego movie, he's just an overbearing dad that didn't want anybody playing with his Legos, like didn't want his son messing with it, which was, cute. And then in the end, he starts playing with them. And this one, it could have taken that dad that was the overbearing Lego dad. Now find out he's the executive of a toy store company. And, and he's like, and again, it would have been fine if they would have gone the route of, businessman wants to get his best product back in Barbie world to continue to sell it. Like, fine, whatever. The evil corporation is a trope that's been done forever. But to go the route of the patriarchy, it's like they want to not sell this movie. Like, and I will say this. It may be wrong, because we did hear criticism similar to this about Mario. From some personalities.
I do want to stress this.
I didn't see any of that.
I do want to stress this, though. This is not just a subtle smash the patriarchy type of thing, because you could even expect that. It's not subtle. Like, there's full diatribes about Barbie. There's full diatribes about this stuff in the movie. And like I said, unless it is completely wrong what I'm hearing from multiple sources, but I don't think it is, because there was always the chance the movie went this way, and actors are saying that the movie is very feminist. So I don't think it is necessarily wrong the way this is being portrayed. And I'm not saying don't see it. If you're fine with that, go ahead and go see it. I'm just saying, if you were looking for something that was more of a turn your brain off kind of romp movie where you can go with a group of people and see it, it's probably not for you.
Now, here's the conspiracy. Did the studios know, after seeing what's been going on with things like Bud Light, things like Target, things like that, know that this Barbie movie would have flopped on its face if just released alone? Did they kind of orchestrate this Barbenheimer type of thing
I don't think
to
so.
purposely get people there to kind of fluff up the numbers?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think they would want to release it next to Oppenheimer. I don't think.
Why don't you live in conspiracy world?
I don't think they want to release it next to Mission Impossible, even though Mission Impossible is not doing as good as it should. Why would you want to release a movie next to that one, especially after how good Top Gun Maverick did?
Which is surprising because I've actually heard Mission Impossible is an absolutely fantastic movie.
Yeah,
I mean it is interesting to think about that. I would like to go see Mission Impossible because Tom Cruise just doing Tom Cruise things. And can we stop real quick? Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. By all intents and purposes, he should be fucking crazy. And he shouldn't be a great guy.
He is crazy.
But he is crazy. But it's interesting to see that, like, Leah Remini did her whole thing about Scientology, right? And she flat out said Tom Cruise is a bad dude, right? But one thing about Tom Cruise is I don't hear him talking about Scientology. I don't hear him pushing it. I don't hear him promoting it. I don't hear him making movies with subtle like things that he could put into it. But thing is, he's just making good films. And why can't people take notes from Scientology? Be evil on your own. Be a cult on your own. Just don't spread it and just do good. No one gives a fuck that Tom Cruise is a Scientologist. Nobody cares at this point. Like, we know Scientology is a cult. We know Scientology brainwashes people. We know that it's probably evil. Nobody cares because Tom Cruise doesn't talk about it. And he makes great movies. Go be woke. Go be an asshole on your own. Just make good products. Like, it's not hard. We've been dealing with wokeness, feminist bullshit our whole lives. They were subtle digs. We'd shake our head and say that's really stupid, but the movie was good, so we didn't care. It's they can't get out of their own way, Dave. They can't get out of their own way. It's bad.
It is really weird. Yet again, I want to see what's going to happen with these two movies, especially, listen, if Barbie is every bit as annoying, I'll use that term, annoying, as I've heard, word of mouth seems to be the biggest way movies are actually gaining and losing. I mean, look at Sound of Freedom, look at Indy 5. Indy 5, by all intents and purposes, should be still probably leading the box office, if not second, but it's not.
And what's funny, from people that have actually went and seen Indy 5 are saying, like, it's not as bad as it was made out to be. Like, Harrison Ford isn't great in it, but the movie itself isn't awful as much, but it deserves everything it gets because they actively push bullshit, and Disney deserves to fail. Like, we know what they do right now at this point.
Yeah.
But Bob Iger doing a great job Bob Iger's a hero. He's destroying it from within. I want to believe that Bob Iger is this is ending from within. I will not allow this on my watch. I love you, Walt.
But that's the whole thing, is that I just don't know how it's going to end up shaking up. I think in this beginning weekend, Barbie is going to sell really well. It's going to sell way above Oppenheimer. But if people don't like it that much, well, we could see some switch up here between Oppenheimer and Barbie. But I don't know, because Oppenheimer is going to be tough. It's 3 hours, rated R. It's probably very dialogue heavy. It's not going to be a ton of people are going to watch that either.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's that good though. If the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
If people go going
raving about Oppenheimer
and are raving about Oppenheimer, that 3 hours isn't going to matter, right? Because Titanic, at both Avatars, like, the FOMO is real, and people are all about that. Look at the Taylor Swift concert. Taylor Swift, for all intents and purposes, hasn't made a different song in 6 years, but she still sells. All of her songs sound the same. I don't mind Taylor. I think she's fine. She makes decent enough music, but the whole entire Eras tour, you're going to hear her first few albums, and then you're going to hear the same song 13 times because it all sounds the same after Shake It Off. But I mean, am I wrong, Dave?
I don't listen to enough of her music to actually be able to back that up. And if
you're a Swiftie out there and I offended you, go back and listen to her last 4 albums and try to not do the same exact rhythm, do every single song and every single chorus. Like, I get it. That's pop music, but we expected better from Taylor. We expected Ed Sheeran, who does different things. I digress. But I mean, I don't even know where I was going there. I don't
know where you were going either.
I went off on a tangent.
Got mad at Taylor Swift.
I got mad at Tay-Tay. I'm sorry. I used to like Taylor Swift. That's why. And I still like her. I just liked her when she really made music. But here's where I was going. It doesn't matter if it's long. FOMO is real. Yeah. Fear of missing out is real. And if word of mouth does spread. If if the both medias agree, like if leftist media and real media, which is conservative media, I'm calling it real media from now on, not conservative media, real media, if they both agree that this is a legitimately good movie, you could arguably see like best of all time numbers, and Christopher Nolan's name is announced to it. So it's like he's attached to it and all those names. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I hope it's good, because God, if we have this build up and it's fucking terrible, I would be. This is cyberpunk of movies.
I cry in the movie theater.
It would be watch. It's just the most boring movie, and the 3 hours feels like 9. And everyone gets out of there, and they're just like, "This is I want refunds." Like, I hope not. But anyway, speaking of something that I don't think anybody that went wanted a refund, the Blaze presidential summit that went on this past Friday. What was the day? That was, I don't even know. It was like the 16th or 14th. I think it was the 14th. The 14th on a Friday.
Yes, 14th.
It was different, Dave. It was very much a different setting. I give the Blaze, Glenn Beck, Stubergear, all those people, especially Tucker Carlson, starting off at 12 at afternoon.
A long time.
And going and back to back to back to back. And I think he got done Eastern time. The summit ended at like 9. That was including Glenn's interview, I believe.
I was going to say the summit ended at 6.
At 6.
One-on-one with Glenn Beck.
One-on-one with Glenn took about an hour. So maybe, and that took like a half an hour before it, maybe. So maybe closer to like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. He did, for a TV personality to be out there, like all of us look at it and go, he did 8 hours of work. Big fucking deal. But for TV personality and that type of thing, he did a lot of work. And, I give credit to Tucker Carlson. He did a fantastic job. People are going to criticize him for kind of softballing some things. He obviously had a designed set of questions for each candidate and things that he wanted to press on each candidate. And when he was unhappy with an answer, he made it known. So we're going to go. First off, people at the summit were in this order: Tim Scott, Asa Hutchinson, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis was the closer, obviously being the number 2. And it seems like they went according to polls, even though Asa Hutchinson's polling at 0. So I don't know how. Maybe they did.
Asa might have been a last minute thing. He might have been a last minute agreement to come on.
Maybe. But so overall, I thought the summit was good. I think that the Blaze did something there, Dave, because we'll see too, because the RNC debates are coming in March. They're going to come, which is going to be sooner than people expect. But they did something there. They've thinned out the herd already, Dave, because, from all, I'll give like my review. Tim Scott did fine. Tim Scott was a little weird with the getting up and talking. And
I think that really hurt him. I think that really hurt him.
I think that hurt him. And I think that the Blaze needs to look at this next time and kind of coach their candidates a little better, right? Like, in a sense, like tell them what this is an interview. This is not a town hall. Because I think Tim Scott thought of it more as like a kind of a town hall session with the crowd. And so I kind of, being the first to go, I think he kind of didn't know what to do there. But in essence, Tim Scott was Tim Scott. He did what he needed to do. He didn't really answer any hard questions. He kind of danced around it and joked around and did what he does, which may have hurt him a little. But overall, Tim Scott's a good, not great candidate, right? Asa Hutchinson, Glenn Beck described it perfectly. He was the Hindenburg crashing.
That was really bad, man.
It was, oh my God.
Unfortunately, I didn't see Tim Scott because I was busy. I couldn't turn it on then, but I did see Asa Hutchinson. And that was the first thing I saw of that summit. I'm like, oh my God, Tucker's out here killing people.
And the thing is, too, and it's like Tucker was being reasonable, and the rebuttals weren't where, if you're used to debates and you're used to seeing kind of the claws out from the moderators,
he kept trying to give him an out. He kept trying to give Asa, he's like, look, here's where your logic is going to. Wouldn't it just go here? And Asa didn't even like try to really understand that position.
And the biggest issue with Asa Hutchinson, and he had a few that were bad. The worst one was about hormone therapy and puberty blockers for youth that are suffering from gender dysphoria. I'm not going to say trans youth. Youth that are suffering from gender dysphoria. And he conflated and saying that there's a difference between blocking puberty and hormone disruptors and treatment. And if you're looking at it, if you were talking to a summit of liberals, he would still get jeered at, but it would have been a better answer. Talking to a summit of more populist conservatives, not neocons, populist conservative people and religious evangelical people, I mean, it was the worst answer you can give. Because Tucker even brought it up and tried to like tell him like, this is a permanent thing. You are giving puberty blockers. It is a permanent chemical adjustment on a small child. And I don't know if Asa Hutchinson doesn't understand it. He was the governor with the bill and everything that he vetoed a bill. And I don't know if he truly understands. And his campaign should all be fired. If he doesn't drop out, he just needs a new campaign, because for them to not prepare him for this question is absolutely criminal on their part. It is bad, really bad. So, Dave, anything else about Asa?
No,
Asa Mentum is done.
Don't even watch that.
Are we done with Asa Mentum?
And you probably don't know that name in the first place.
So Asa Mentum is over. It's officially over. So Mike Pence surprisingly got the second largest viewing numbers when all was said and done. Last time I looked, Steve Deace was putting them out. DeSantis was by far the most viewed.
Yes.
And Mike Pence actually had pretty good viewing numbers, with Vivek Ramaswamy coming in third. So a lot of people were interested to see what the former vice president had to say. And the biggest moment of the summit was a slip up by Mike Pence. Now, I'm going to defend Mike Pence. He did not mean it in the way that he said it. If you hear the whole context of Tucker Carlson's question, and I believe that Tim Cass covered this when Tim Cass talked about it, when you hear the whole clip, Tucker Carlson mentions things of being concerned multiple times while presenting the question to Mike Pence. And I believe what Mike Pence was answering is when he was talking about the concern of Ukraine over the United States. So now the viral part is Mike Pence starting his answer saying, that's not my concern. That's not my concern. The problem is the last thing Tucker Carlson was talking about was United States cities being in shambles. And that should be his main concern. I think Mike Pence, and if you hear the rest of his answer, his not my concern was obvious to Ukraine being the main issue. That was the obvious thing. Now, that doesn't matter in politics. That does not matter. The issue is the way he ended it. He said all the right things. He's going to do, besides that, that's not my concern. That's the viral clip. And I think if you're a nuanced person and not just playing partisan because Pence, you don't want him, can realize he was not saying the cities are not his concern. He was talking about making the cities better, making, human rights for abortion, like ending abortion for the country, bringing God back into people, said all the right things. But then at the end, when he basically said people are too small-minded if they don't think the United States can handle both, being a globalist, basically policeman, and working in America to make it better. That's exactly what the current conservative group does not want to hear. Your current conservatives do not want to be the world police. In a way, if you want to talk about an ideological shift, here it is. The Democrats now want to be the world police because they want to be globalist, where they were the ones going back in the Bush years and things like that, both Bushes, saying, we're not the world police, stop fighting endless wars. Now it's reversed. The current Republicans do not want to hear that. They want to hear, get control of our domestic, pull us out of bullshit wars, and only fight if necessary. That's your conservative. Your libertarians don't want to get involved at all. But they would accept a Republican candidate that said, listen, we're pulling out of all the nonsense. We're sending humanitarian aid where needed, but we're only going to fight if provoked, if we really need to. I think that's acceptable for everyone that's rightish leaning besides your extremists. But do you agree with my assessment, Dave, that Pence is getting the most viral moment? He deserves it because he answered it terribly in the beginning, but it's not his intent.
So, I do think it is unfair to clip him in that way, even though he kind of fucked up starting it that way.
Yes.
I think any campaign will tell you, really think about what you're going to say before you say it. But another thing that I really do think we have to understand the context around this is that Mike Pence didn't really have much of a chance of winning in the first place. In fact, he had probably just barely a non-zero chance, like a 1% chance of winning the primary. So, yes, he shouldn't be treated unfairly, and yes, he answered pretty well until the last part, but overall, it was just another guy to go through the Tucker gauntlet in order to be like, okay, we definitely know we don't want him, so there's no point to even try to vote for him.
And right now, like the first three candidates, again, I like Tim Scott. Tim Scott's not a viable candidate. He's a viable VP. He's not a viable candidate. Asa Hutchinson needed to drop out yesterday. Doug Burnham has better chance of winning than Asa Hutchinson. Mike Pence was never going to win because he has none of the Trump base. All of MAGA does not want to see Mike Pence go there. And he's not going to get the DeSantis base because he's going to be associated with Donald Trump. So, like, he was screwed regardless. I want to move on to Nikki Haley. For all intents and purposes, Nikki Haley did just fine. Her Ukraine answers, we expected. She's a neocon. She's a war hawk. Her issue is she's the Hillary of the right. She just looks so practiced and polished. She just looks like a politician. Nobody is going to trust Nikki Haley to stick to her word. Yeah. Nobody is going to trust Nikki Haley to not continue Biden's politics with Ukraine. Nobody's going to trust Nikki Haley to actually do anything domestically besides whatever Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy want her to do, and whoever is in power at the top. That is Nikki Haley's biggest issue. Is she is a really good politician. That's honestly her biggest problem, and nobody wants a politician right now.
Yeah, I wasn't able to listen to Nikki. I was in a bad service area when I was driving because I was driving while listening to the summit. So I had like no service, so I missed basically all of Nikki. But yeah, no, you're right. This is going to be the issue for all the candidates that we just talked about, is that they're a little bit too much politicians.
Yes,
which is just not what the right is looking for right now. So no matter how, honestly, almost no matter how good of an answer you give, if you're not somewhat charismatic about it, or you don't have the results already, they're not going to care about you.
Yeah. Out of those four, the only one that looks genuine when he responds is Tim Scott. Everyone else looks practiced. Their smiles look rehearsed. Like, it doesn't look real. Now, let's go on to the people that one of them no one knew about unless you really like this individual, unless you read his book, unless you've watched Glenn Beck and things like that. Vivek Ramaswamy, and then Ron DeSantis. So let's start off with Vivek. Vivek had his first moment. I think his first moment of many in the next coming months. People that did not know who Vivek Ramaswamy was certainly know who the fuck he is now. The man is incredibly charismatic. I'm going to say the most charismatic guy in the race, including Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a different charisma, but Vivek Ramaswamy is a better speaker. He's 37 years old. And in terms of issues knowledge, he's probably the most knowledgeable on the culture issues that we're all invested in. He's very bold. He showed that. He says a lot of great things. I think he's the most viable VP candidate in this whole entire race. You mean, like, if things do go down with Trump, now we just got today that Trump might be indicted again for another indictment. Jack Smith might indict him over his J6 involvement, which is another throwaway because Donald Trump was not involved in January 6th, but it's all about headlines. But I digress with that. Vivek was fantastic. I know people are saying that DeSantis was the best one tonight. Vivek, I think, to me, was head and shoulders the best of the night. He had charisma. His answers were great. He got a standing ovation from that crowd that didn't give it to anybody. They booed Mike Pence right beforehand. And it was and even afterwards, a post interview with Glenn was amazing. And the things that he's done since, he has not stopped. He's continuing. He just let out his judicial appointments yesterday, including Mike Scott and Ted Cruz, which is going to get a lot of the populace happy. And I mean, I think he is the rising star on the right. Now, people on Twitter are trying to bash him. They put up a thing about how he was talking about masks early on, about George Soros connections and WEF. He's addressed his George Soros connections, WEF. Go look up Vivek Ramaswamy, WEF, George Soros. You'll see him talking about it. If that's a disqualifier for you, I don't blame you. I really don't. if anything associated with George Soros is a disqualifier, go for it, but then don't vote for Trump because his daughter is a person that participates in WEF. Ivanka's there, but it's. I thought he did amazing, Dave. I thought, and I've liked Vivek. I've read Woke Inc. I've been a fan of his. I've been talking about him for a while, Dave. You've known I've talked about him. I thought he did the best of the night.
Yeah, I texted you after I heard him speak.
Yep.
And I said he killed it. He probably will end up doing the best night because I didn't hear DeSantis yet. But I said he killed it. He did fantastic because you could even feel it in the room. Like Tucker before would ask a question, he would kind of cut off the person if they were going a little bit long-winded. They were saying the same thing or he had something to rebut with. He didn't do that with Vivek. He let Vivek talk, and you could feel that people were actually listening to Vivek.
Yep.
And I'm going to kind of cut into our Ron analysis right now.
Go for it.
And Ron did very well. I thought Ron did really damn good in this summit.
The best of his campaign so far.
Probably. And the thing is I think what we're seeing right now, at least between these two, is Vivek is actively saying he wants to go towards something. That was the whole point of his spiel on the summit, and the whole point of his campaign would seem like is relying on now. He is going towards something. Now, it could be slightly nebulous, like we're going towards being American again. We're going towards this. But
the exact thing that got Donald Trump elected.
Yeah, but what's a common complaint we hear from people that love to complain about the right all the time, even when they're on the right, is they don't have any solutions. They don't say going towards something, which is a correct assessment for a damn good amount of them.
Absolutely.
But when someone comes along and says that shit, even when nebulous, people latch onto it. And what we're seeing now is the fight between him saying what he wants to go towards and DeSantis with a pretty proven track record in Florida right now. So he has the proven track record of what he basically would want to go forward to as a country. I mean, obviously a little different, but still, we see what he's done in Florida. We see how loved he is. I mean, honestly, we would both probably love to live there.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. So he has the proven track record, and Vivek is saying where he wants to go.
Yep.
Now, I mean, obviously, Trump looming large. He probably wins the primary already, no matter what. But either way, that is what we're seeing as the fight between those two, in a way, at least in this summit, which I thought it's a very interesting thing to witness because, yeah, DeSantis does have that message, but he didn't push it as much as Vivek did in that summit. He could kind of rely back on his track record, which he should at all times. But he could rely on that. He could rely on saying, like, we'll go and get this done, like basically like I did it, or here's what we did in Florida. So he can go and actually get shit done with his team.
Yep.
So, but Vivek killed it. I think if he keeps going like this, he can really make Ron sweat. I don't know if he makes Trump sweat, unless Trump keeps bullshitting with some stuff. He might lose some people with some of the things that he keeps saying and that he keeps continuing on with. So
we'll talk about Trump after we get done with DeSantis.
Exactly. And so Vivek had a really good jumping off point in the summit. I am interested to see in what he does with the rest of his campaign because, like he said, he's going to these places that people don't go to. He goes to the south side of Chicago. He goes to all these places.
Yep.
So we'll see what he does and if he's going to push candidates to certain aspects of talking about certain topics that they may not generally talk about
or don't know about.
Yeah.
And the thing with Vivek too, he might have been nebulous on that stage, but you can go find detailed positions and interviews he's done. So it's not like he gives the same, where a lot of politicians will give the same answers at every interview with very little detail. But Vivek is given detail on how he wants to upgrade voting, on what he would do in Ukraine, on how he would, help the economy. So outside of this was much more of a rah-rah speech and things from Vivek. If you want detail, he gives it. And so, I don't want to make this an all Vivek thing because I'm a fan of his. After what I've been hearing from Trump, I do think both Vivek and Ron DeSantis are going to start making Trump sweat soon. And I'm a Trump supporter. I plan on voting for him for a third time, but I am open. And I always have been. Let's talk about Ron. To me, this was Ron's best performance since before starting his campaign. Because we're going to be honest, Ron has been campaigning for 3 years. Since he won not even 3 years. What was it? Since when 2022 when he rewon governorship?
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
Since he rewon the governorship, he started campaigning. Once he was comfortable in that, that's it. So even though he didn't announce he was traveling, he was doing that stuff. The Florida House was trying to redo a law, did pass a law where he could stay governor and campaign for president. So everyone knew what he was doing. This, to me, was easily his best performance. And the reason why, and I think this was a great setting for him, he knows Tucker. He knows that Tucker, and he knows that Tucker is a person that will challenge him when necessary, but will be fair. We saw Ron DeSantis let his hair down for the first time in a long time. We saw it a good amount when he was just Florida governor, fucking with the media. And that's when we loved him, when he was trolling the media, when he was coming out with facts, when he was calling them on their bullshit. That was peak Ron DeSantis when people were looking at him going, this is a cleaner version of Trump. We can get down with that. We have not seen that guy in a really long time. We have seen a polished, practiced guy giving really shitty, nebulous answers, like you said, falling back on some of the things. And again, he should fall back on his record, but we haven't heard a single thing new from Ron DeSantis. We haven't seen him be a human. In this, he laughed. He told jokes. He had some witty banter. He had energy. He seemed, for the first time in a long time, Ron DeSantis seemed passionate about wanting to be president. And that was palpable. And maybe he saw what Vivek did. And he knew I had to come out here and be the best and be the most I could be. And I don't know if Ron DeSantis needs to be more than this in order to really make rounds. If he could just continue to be a charismatic politician, he doesn't have to be Trump. He doesn't have to be Vivek. But the fact that he could be that, and he gave a lot of Donald Trump answers. I said this to you before. A lot of answers he gave on things were things Donald Trump has already said in the past. And that's fine. People want DeSantis to be a polished Trump. Now, he's a politician. That's where I go wrong with him. And that's where I've always gone, and I need to see more from him. But this only helped DeSantis. I think this helped Vivek more, but I think it looked really good for DeSantis. And now I want to talk about Trump, because I do have a problem with Trump. Not that he didn't do the Blaze Summit. I understand kind of saying fuck off with the rest of these candidates. I don't need to be at these places. I'm 40 points ahead, 20 points in some poll, whatever. It doesn't matter. What annoys me is that he blew off guys that the Blaze was not on Donald Trump's side in 2015, 2014, when he announced Glenn Beck, Pat Gray, all these people were, even Keith Malinak, who we've had on the show, was like, don't trust Trump, think he's still a Clinton Democrat, don't trust him at all. When he became president, that network flipped for him, 100%. Glenn, after seeing what he did, publicly said he was wrong about Donald Trump, and had Donald Trump on and told him, and they've seemed simpatico since then. Pat Gray, all these personalities turned and were really in his corner. For him, he talks about loyalty. For him to brush the Blaze off, whatever, right? But to brush them off, to then go on Fox News, do an interview with Maria Bartiromo, to then also do a town hall with Sean Hannity, who absolutely, we want to talk about text messages from Hunter. There are text messages from Sean Hannity besmirching Donald Trump. Okay. So the whole entire loyalty with DeSantis kind of works both ways. And I've aired my grievances with Trump before. This is a grievance for me. If you're going to blow them off, go blow them off and do some fucking rallies. I'm cool with that. That's what you do. Go be in middle America. Go do some rallies. Do not blow them off for Fox News at this point. With the way the populist movement in this party is going, don't do that. Don't keep doing that shit. Nobody likes Fox News anymore. No one has cared about Sean Hannity since at least 2019. Maybe even before, but once he lost in 2020, no one really gave a shit about Sean Hannity. Hence why Fox News never tried to have him fill his position with Tucker. They went elsewhere. If Hannity was still important, they would have slid him right in and been like, we still have a big guy. Nobody cares about Sean Hannity on the right anymore. And for Trump to sit there say no to the Blaze because I have prior engagements, and your prior engagements were Maria Bartiromo and Sean Hannity. It's an awful look for supporters that have supported you. We're not MAGA cultists. I will defend Donald Trump on a lot of things in his presidency, but that put a bad taste in my mouth. I did not like that at all. Dave, what about you?
I didn't necessarily care very much about that, though I understand to care about that. I mean, the whole thing about Trump is whether or not he's able to just reel himself in on some of these things, like understanding where his base is. Because what got him elected in 2016 is understanding where the base is and having his finger on the pulse. But just understanding where his base is on some of the stuff about mandating vaccines and about a lot of the other things that happened in the COVID time, and really mainly that, and just some of the other things that he's brought up and he said. And then, I mean, maybe even not debating in the first debate, which is an interesting move. But
which is where he shines.
Exactly.
For intents and purposes.
Exactly. But I do want to bring up real quick, because we didn't bring it up, but Ron DeSantis's best answer was about the CBDCs.
Yes.
That was a fantastic.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, just go and look both Vivek and DeSantis on a summit. Watch them both if you're interested.
And also, really quickly, with the debate thing, I just want to throw in there. After watching this forum, if you're Team Trump, wouldn't you tell him to get on that stage after seeing how well Vivek and Ron DeSantis did? And not even just go talk to Tucker. Go get on that debate stage and go remind people why these two are your juniors. You know, like, don't give these two another chance to shine.
Yep.
Like, that's not a good plan.
Yep. I do think he is resting on his laurels a bit, but we'll see what happens. I mean, yet again, we're still in pretty early stages, I would say. So, well, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And I do find it very interesting because there's just so much fighting about whether or not, if someone wins, what's going to happen, or if they're going to lose to Biden or whatever. And I just have to say this. The reason Donald Trump lost in 2020 is because of everything that happened with COVID and all of his missteps there. 100%. That is not going to be in the mind of someone that cannot afford their groceries in 2024. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's just not in their fucking mind. Because if they don't have the ability to afford what they did afford under Trump before COVID, they are not going to vote for the guy that put it that high. Even if you could try the explanation that Trump using all that fucking money that he shouldn't have used, pumping so much shit into the economy, that was part of the reason why things got bad. You could try to explain it that way. I'm certain that's a part of it. People do not care about that. You have to understand this. Normal people do not care about that. If they cannot afford things, they move from president to president. It's that simple.
And less people are going to do mail-in ballots because everyone had nothing else to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing else to do. They were locked inside, nothing else to do. So, of course, they were just going to throw a mail-in. People are going to have lives this time. They're not going to give a shit about what to do. And, you know, and the thing is, too, and I'll bring it up, too. I saw Bill Mitchell. He's a personality, conservative personality. He's a never Trumper. He did what a lot of never Trumpers did not do. He went on Twitter the other day, and I agree with him. He said, listen, I think Trump won't win. I don't think he's better than DeSantis. I don't think he can win the general. But if he wins, I'm voting red. I will not support him outwardly, but I'm voting red. And that's all you need to do if you're an ever Trumper. Just bite your, because you know what? In my eyes, David, all your factors are right. Trump still could have won if a lot of the major personalities on the right did not disparage him openly during the general.
And the thing is you have to, I completely understand people's reason for voting Trump or DeSantis. Yes. I'm not the type, you know this, I don't fucking care about a singular person that's up there. No. Whoever is going to do whatever I think is the best, I'm just going to end up voting for. That's why it's fun to watch this shit. So having to stick against or for someone just boggles my fucking mind, because you end up tunneling yourself in what you think is going to factor in something that's not even close yet. Yeah. That really isn't actually close yet. So when it comes to this, you just have to let things play out the way they are right now. Like, I mean, you don't love DeSantis. DeSantis is probably your third pick with Trump and Vivek. But that's the thing. But you had all the wherewithal to be able to say, listen, fucking Ronnie did great. Ron DeSantis did great.
And here's the thing. Even with me disliking Trump out of this, I'm not Trump, DeSantis, Floridian slip there because he pissed me off. But disliking DeSantis and not necessarily disliking. I like Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
Just for president right now, he's my third.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's by a landslide.
No.
And what we need to realize on the right is we have 3 really good candidates right now. 3 really, really good candidates. One with charisma that we have not seen since probably Barack Obama with Trump. And people on the right will say Reagan. Stop it. Barack Obama had incredible charisma. People thought the man was Black Jesus. Okay. So stop it. He had a dude orgasm on screen on CNBC with Chris Matthews. But so the charisma that Trump has is second to none. We have an intelligent 37-year-old who's worth $500 million and was a tech billionaire and a hedge fund billionaire at like late 20s. That is a liberal side thing. Conservatives don't have that. So we have to realize we have a unicorn in Vivek Ramaswamy, plus the guy's Indian. Like we have him like doing all this stuff. And then we have Ron DeSantis, who's arguably been one of the best governors of all time.
A long time.
In Florida. And I get it. Trump did help him become governor. He almost lost to a crackhead that ran over his wife with Gillum. But could you imagine that state now? But after that, what DeSantis was able to do can't be short of anything. He turned a 0.5 victory to 20 points. Like DeSantis is one of the greatest governors in the history of this country. And that's not a debate with what he did in a purple state, turning it deep red in 4 years. So we just need to realize we have 3 really good candidates on the right. And I have no problem if you are gung-ho for your candidate right now. Be gung-ho. Battle, do what you got to do, but please don't be ignorant enough to hand the victory to the left because you're a fucking moron. There's no other way to put it. If you hate Trump right now because you love DeSantis, if DeSantis drops out, throw your weight behind Trump. Please don't go RFK. If you go RFK, you were never on the right. I'll tell you right now, this love fest with RFK is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm learning to hate the guy because everyone else is talking so highly of him because he has two, dismantle the agencies. I understand. His dad and his uncle were fucking killed by them. I get it. And just the mandates in this vaccine. He's not anti-vax. He just doesn't agree with the COVID vaccines, which is fine. But those are the only 2 things the man, he wants. If you deny climate change, he thinks you should die. He said it before.
Well, I will say real quick, I know guest of the show, unfortunately, I wasn't able to talk to him, but John Ziegler put out New Death of Journalism where he talked about the JFK case. And I want to hear what he learned because he said, there's all there that he was actually just killed by one guy. So I want to hear that because Ziggs is not someone who just
has a great nose. If you have not go and watched that, listen to Death of Journalism yet with John Ziegler and Elizabeth, you are out of your mind. It is incredible. It is really good. I recommend that. Me and John certainly have our differences when it comes to Trump. He absolutely hates Donald Trump. And if you listen to it, you'll hear why he hates Donald Trump. He has personal reasons to dislike the man, and that's fine. But John Ziegler is as honest as it goes. He's an honest guy. He calls balls and strikes the way he sees it. And if he gets new evidence sent his way, John Ziegler is not too big to say I was wrong. John Ziegler will often tell you I'm probably wrong. Like he gives a lot of percentages. He has a cool formula. But yeah, go listen to Death of Journalism. John and Liz are freaking awesome. But so that's my take on everything. Dave, do you have anything else about the Blaze Summit and Trump to add on here?
No. We can go to our last nonsensical topic that I threw in because it's really stupid, and I want to go over how awful things are in the world.
Go ahead, Dave.
So, for those that browse social media, I do not use TikTok, so I would have never known this if not for Twitter and some YouTube personalities. But on TikTok, there is now a thing which is being labeled TikTok NPC fetish, where people go on a TikTok live stream and they act like NPCs. If you don't know what NPCs are, they are non-playable characters in video games. They're the people that you could walk up to, you press A or you press X or you press whatever button, you can talk to them, and they have so many scripted lines they could say to you based on what you say or just whether or not you went up and talked to them. People are going on live streams on TikTok, and depending on what you donate to them, they will say a specific line every single time, and what is basically the same way. And these are plentiful on TikTok. I do not want to show them here because even though I am spreading it in some way, I'm not going to spread it in that way. If you want to go see it, there are plenty of videos on it. So I recommend going and watching any of those if you're really that interested. But witnessing this has definitely put me down in some aspects, at least down to the point where I am wondering if people actually do care about being human anymore.
Dave, we've talked about on this show Sodom and Gomorrah, and that we are getting close, if not there. Now, I take heart that we are not there yet, because there still are enough good people trying to fight back against it. And Sodom and Gomorrah were just completely overrun. So we're still not there. But man, we're getting close. Man, are we because you showed me. And I hate you because you only hurt me. Whenever you show me things, you hurt me. You introduce me to Future Diary. You introduce me to this. I'm convinced you hate me. Why was I a bad brother? Was I that bad, Dave?
Yes. And the thing is that I wouldn't even classify this as generally bad. It's more of a neutral thing that's happening. But it's
no. It's bad.
It's so uncanny. And it begs the question as to why. Why not only are people donating to witness this and keep it going, why and how can you sit there with the live stream mainly just on your face usually and keep doing this? Even if it's for money, it feels weird. You can start to see the dead eyes in these people, and I don't love it. I don't love it at all.
From what you showed me, it was a cat girl, Dave. These people are already fucking weird.
There's plenty of people doing this. I showed you one thing. There's plenty of people doing this that look like normal people that are doing this.
So I don't know. I mean, it's got to be something that's for the money. And I have to think, and I'm not a person that like blame the video games. DLC culture definitely kind of goes into this because you're kind of paying money to kind of get something in a downloadable way, right? Like instant gratification. I paid money to get a reaction, and I get this and I paid for it. And it's kind of like that. People are tired of video games, so they want something else. And I don't
even know about that. I think it's just,
I don't know.
A lack of social interaction is probably a part of it. And I don't necessarily, I don't know. I can't think of many other reasons right now.
With the narcissism and society has had, and like the ability to control something in a narcissistic way from the person that pays, and the person that's getting that gratification of doing something, getting the attention,
it's a possibility,
positive or negative, like that is attention. And these people that are doing this NPC thing are obviously attention-seeking individuals. You don't put yourself on TikTok and do something, the gimmicky things. A lot of your TikTok famous people are very narcissistic, do want this attention. And it kind of is like, and these got to be the same people that pay for cam shows, Dave. Like, let's be honest.
That's true.
They're the same weirdos that pay for cam shows to watch the same girl get fucked by the same guy and request them to do the same thing over and over and over and over because they're fucking weird, Dave. These people are weird. And we are going to study down the road the mental disorder that, and pornography does create mental disorders. That is a fact. Too much social media, or social media in general, is having a mental effect on everyone that uses it, especially with like the likes and everything and wanting to get those hits. There's a combination of everything, Dave, because there's got to be some There's some aspect of a euphoria hit with both sides. You mentioned the lifeless look in the eyes, but still, they're getting gratification in some way. Both sides are. It's weird.
And the thing is, usually we can kind of point back to a past thing that used to be done where it's like, oh, what they're doing now is kind of similar to this, just in a different way. And, you could think it's weird, but at least it's similar to that. I don't know if someone can think of something that is similar to what this is, the TikTok,
like the village fool. The village fool that will be paid to do things in the square over and over and over.
I don't think that's similar because
performing. It's a performance type thing where they get paid to these performers. These three performers get paid to do the same thing over and over every day, all the time, and it's minuscule and it's just attention.
But that's completely different from being an NPC.
I get it. Dave, they live the life anyway. These are probably the same people that think we're going to die in 2020, that think that the patriarchy is the problem.
I don't want to harp on this because really it's just stupid and we don't need to do a deep dive. But this is...
Be lucky we're not live streaming yet, because I would have played this for everybody.
That is true. If you want to go into Clown World, you could watch videos on it or watch whatever. I actually recommend It's a Gundam. He's always funny. But either way, I just wanted to step into the weirdness that is happening now and the trends that we're seeing from weird stuff on TikTok. Which I'm happy to not venture into.
And TikTok is evil. Dave, I had TikTok for 5 minutes to help promote our good friend Hack No Cap, because, that's basically why I was there, to kind of repost his stuff. And everyone go follow Hack No Cap on TikTok. He's, he's fantastic. He puts out the TikTok. How much of a boomer do I fucking sound
really?
like?
You sound awful. You're going to start adding S's to stores names. Best Buys.
The internet's, I'm not dad, but, but I mean, it's so TikTok is I had it, and one day I decided to go and watch a few videos on it, right? Thought I'd kill some time. Now, I should be savvy because I've been down the YouTube wormholes, whatever. And I thought I'd watch a few and go do what I got to do. This was 9 o'clock at night, Dave. I get on there. I look up. It's 11 o'clock. In my head, I go, fuck this. I automatically uninstall it. Without question, without
That's probably a healthy thing to do, honestly.
Uninstall it. I'm like, I do a lot of things that add no value to life. Human beings need to do things that add no value because we don't always want to constantly be engaged. It would drive you nuts. You need some disengagement, right? But I lost those 2 hours. There was not even a synapse moving in my brain while I was looking at this screen. It was bad. At least when you fall down a YouTube wormhole, you get convinced of some nonsense conspiracy and you're thinking about it. And then you come out of it and you're like, well, that was fun. Don't be a retard. Let it go. Don't Kyrie this and think the earth is flat.
Yeah, I had TikTok as well, just for Hack No Cap. Maybe this is just the way I'm wired. I know I'm fucking weird. I never had the urge to go and watch it. Same thing with Vine. I know people loved Vine. I never had the urge to go and watch the short videos and keep going. I don't know why. It's just not in me to do that. But I'll watch YouTube for a while. I'll at least watch that. So there's something there.
I'll say this. Instagram Reels, they're sucking me in. They just keep giving me track videos. They just keep giving me videos of track races and great kicks. And
that's fair.
And I'm looking at that and I'm like, I might be in a loop, but at least it's a healthy loop. At
least it's a hobby and a thing that you very much enjoy.
And I did well because Instagram, for whatever reason, they found out I was a guy. And they were just giving me whores. And I was like, how do I stop the whores? So I would just only
add track pages, only track pages.
I would scan through the reels. They give you 5 at a time. And I think I found one of a girl competing in track, and I clicked on it and then I got out of it. And then I went again. I saw another one. I only clicked
train the algorithm.
I trained the algorithm and now it only gives me track, fast kicks and things like that. So yeah, fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. I win. But on that note, don't use TikTok. China's evil. Please don't help them. Anyway, Dave, we were on our own again. I thought we held it down okay. What do you think?
It was okay. It was probably more suboptimal, but I think it was okay.
I mean, we are suboptimal. Hence why both of our guests told us to fuck off the last 2 weeks. No, they did not. Hopefully we will have both of them on in the near future. But as I said last week, let's hope to get back on the guest train because that's kind of what we like to do here. Talk to interesting people, pick their brains, have great conversations. So if you did like this episode, though, please go give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Spotify and iTunes, please leave a comment too. Leave comments wherever you are. Tell us we suck. That's okay. You can tell us we're awful. I got one of my favorite things I ever got, Dave, is when I first started writing articles over at AOSN, which I don't think, All Out Sports Network, I don't think it's a thing anymore. It was sports articles. I did like a list of like a top something, and someone wrote it's just a flaming pile of hot garbage, and that has stuck with me forever. And I'm hoping that we could have achieved that today, that this is a flaming pile of hot garbage. So please leave that comment. But yep, go find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show, and we will be back next week. Hopefully it's not just David and I. If it is, we'll probably scrap together a guest of some friendly face you guys have heard before. All right, anyway, we will talk to everybody next week. So long.